Hi, my name is Cindy Rang and I'm with the Fabric Patch in Ephrata, Washington. Our website is www.fabricpatch.net. And this is our fourth class in the row sampler, but of course we're on our third row. So the row that we're going to do today is the ribbon border. So we're going to talk about a couple different sizes, a couple different options, and some things that you can do with this at the end. We'll show you some special things. So your pattern is pretty specific. We're just going to look at that. And what's really nice with your pattern is that your block is done with just one size square, which makes it kind of easy. So you are supposed to cut all of your squares into 7 1/4 inches. And what you essentially need, what your pattern says, is 2 dark squares, 2 medium squares, and 4 light squares. But let me really talk to you about what those are. So let's look up here. What you really have is you have a background, and in your pattern, the dark squares, that's your background because it says black. So you have your background squares. You have the back of the ribbon, which here is the bright blue. So it talks about that. And then you have the ribbon itself, which here is the light blue. So in this pattern, I was specific about what it is, but if you are going to make this for something else or like for the project that we're doing afterwards, you just want to make your decisions about background, the back side of the ribbon, and the front of the ribbon. And in the other pattern that we have, that's how it's described. All right, so let's look at our blocks. So again, for our border, for our row sampler, you've got 2 of your background blocks, 2 blocks that are the back side of the ribbon, and 4 blocks that are the front side of the ribbon. All 8 of these squares are exactly the same size. For your particular row, you want these to be 7 1/4 inches. So what you're going to do first is you're going to take these 2, you're going to lay them on top of each other, and we're going to go over and we're going to turn these into half square triangles. So I kind of like these. These are water erase chalk markers, and what's nice is it's a set of 3, and so if I am drawing a line on something dark or something light or whatever, I have got the color that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. And I kind of felt like white was the one that I wanted. I can kind of see that one. I probably should have just automatically picked the pink. I felt like that was a dark green. Okay, we have pink. Okay, I'm going to dash over to the sewing machine really quick, and I'm going to sew. We've done this before in other blocks. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch down this side and 1/4 inch down the other. And I'm going to do it with this one and with this one. Here are our 2 half square triangle blocks. So here is the line we drew, and so I sewed the 1/4 inch on both sides. This one has been cut. This one I haven't quite cut yet. So what's going to happen is I'm going to cut both of these, and then we'll go ahead and press them. And what I always do is I hold on to the dark, which helps us then to press to the dark. We've talked about pressing each time, and we're just going to rock that seam over. Got that one, and then we'll do the next one, and we'll do the same thing with the other 2. And once we've done that, we have these half square triangle blocks. Now these half square triangles, we started with our 7 1/4 inch square, but since we sewed it in half and cut it in half, it is of course smaller than this 7 1/4 inch square. That makes sense, right? But instead of making these all different sizes and cutting the wrong thing, all we're going to do is just make up the difference here, put it right in the center. We're going to turn it, and we're going to draw our line again. We're going to do the exact same thing, draw a line right down the center, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch on both sides. It'll end up looking just like this. Once we've done that, we're going to cut this one in half right in the center. When we've done that, it looks just like this. Now we're going to press it again, and when we press it open, we end up with a 1/4 square triangle block. Okay, for trimming our block, let's just review for a second. So this is our quarter square triangle block, and of course, since we've sewn a seam here, this unit is smaller than this base piece, and you can see that there's quite a bit extra here. The reason that that's important to remember is that now that we've pressed this, you can see that you are going to trim more off of this side and this side than you are here. So this is what confuses people, is they think if they're just going to lay this down and trim this, you end up with excess up here in the points that you don't need, because when you trim it, you want to make sure that your point comes right out to the point here, right to the point there, and right to the point there. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So first of all, you have to know the trim size of your block. This particular block, I'm going to trim to 7 inches, just because it's going to be easy math to show you. So I'm going to come over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's my line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's my line and my corner. I just, again, like to mark my corners so I know what I'm looking at. Half of 7 inches is 3.5. So 1, 2, 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. So my center mark of my block is right there. So what's going to happen is when I go to lay my ruler down, what I'm going to start with is I'm going to put that 3.5 inch mark right in the center of my block so that I know what I'm trimming off. And if you look at this, I'm also then going to, let's look up here. Here's my 7 inches. I am right on that point right there. We're going to come down here. Here's our 45-degree mark. I'm right on that point there. We're going to come over here. 7-inch mark right on that point. And so you can see that what I'm trimming off here is not so much. What I'm trimming off here, not so much, but I'm trimming off quite a bit up here. So one last little check, and if everything doesn't line up exactly right, your points are more important than the center. So if you have to fudge your center just a little bit in order to get 3 perfect points, that's not going to matter. That's just always going to be your starting point. So does that make sense? So I've got perfect point, perfect point, perfect point. I'm at 7 inches. And so what I'm going to do, apply pressure, cut the side, cut across the top, spin it. And again, now all I have to do is line up my 7-inch block. So I'm lining that up right there in the corner. I'm still double checking. I'm right in the point there. I'm right in the point there. And here is my perfect block. And so I've got all of my points coming right to the point. Oops, left a little doggy there, but right to the point, right to the point. Once they're all trimmed, what you have is you have 4 left-handed blocks and 4 right-hand blocks. The reason that that's important to remember is that if you look at your pattern, you'll see that you can do a ribbon pattern. If you're doing this ribbon pattern, all of these blocks are either left-handed or all of these blocks are right-handed. You can play around with these blocks just a little bit, and you can do some other patterns if you want to do that. But because of the way that we did this, all of these are mirror image. So what will happen is when we go to lay these out, it's going to look like this. So here's all of my left-handed blocks creating this, this ribbon border. So here's the ribbon, here's the back side of the ribbon. Then when we get here, we're just basically going to flip it. And it's going to go the opposite direction. Wait a minute, like that. Okay, so here's our ribbon, kind of folds on itself and it goes back. So that way you're using your right-handed blocks and your left-handed blocks together in a ribbon border. You can play around with this a little bit, line them up however you want. Your row is going to end up being approximately 6.5 inches by 48.5 inches. You can sew these together however you'd like to. If you feel like you don't really care for it like this, you really want all of your ribbon going in one way, then you either have to make another set of blocks where you have 2 rows of ribbons. One will go one way, one will go the other way. which is again fine because you can go ahead and do that. You can put those rows wherever you want to, or you'll have another set for something different, or you can just use 4 and put something else in the ends of your blocks. You have multiple options. See what you kind of come up with. And here in just a few minutes, we're going to show you what to do with blocks like this to make a whole quilt, and we're going to talk about math. All right, so these are the ribbon blocks that we just made. Again, for your border print, you were going to start with 7 1/4 inch blocks, and you trim those down to 6 1/2. What we did with these is we started with 8 1/2 inch squares, and we trimmed them down to 7 1/2 inches. So you have these 7 1/2 inch blocks, and we've got, of course, the right hand on one side making this pretty ribbon, and the left hand blocks on the other side making this pretty ribbon. We've ended up with 10 in each row. So all we're going to do is we're going to find a matching large print that we really like, and this is called Splendid. All of these fabrics are from the Splendid line, and we think this is just such a beautiful poinsettia fabric. What we did is we have 2 yards of fabric right here. So I'm just measuring over 13 inches. The only reason I'm picking 13 inches is because my width of fabric is 42. So I just want to make sure that I have 3 running yardage pieces that I'm going to put down there. So I have 2 yards of fabric, I have it folded a couple times, I've cut off my selvage, and I'm measuring over 13 inches, and that's right where I'm at. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that. And so here's 2. Then what I'll do with this, I have about 16 inches left. I'm going to go ahead and press that and trim this to another 13 inches. But here's my other 2. These are then approximately 72 inches long. My quilt, after I sew everything together, is going to end up being 52 wide by approximately 70 long, and that is without any other borders. If I wanted to add something else to go around it, I could go ahead and do that. We will link a materials list for you, but all you need to make this is 2 yards of your bright print fabric, 3/4 of a yard of your ribbon, half for the back of the ribbon, and half for the background. And then again, this one, we would press this open and trim this to the 13-inch size, and this is going to go on this side. So anyway, kind of a fun thing just to go ahead and do if you have a cool piece of fabric that you want to show off. Some of the others that we have that we think are kind of fun, there's this fabric, and it's called Flowers. And this is just kind of a really cool border. Now this is quite a bit larger. This is an 18-inch section, so you might end up just doing 2 rows and maybe 3 rows of ribbon for that one. This one is a Maywood Studios one, and this one has it very specific in terms of where those border prints are. Makes it kind of pretty. Your other option is to just flip the whole thing. If you wanted to go ahead and turn it the opposite way, if you have a print, this is called Bike Ride? Yeah, Bike Ride. So you could go ahead and go the other way and have your ribbons go the other way, and you can make this any size you'd like. So anyway, we hope you like your ribbon border. We think it's kind of a fun thing to do. It's great for a Christmas quilt, a girly quilt, or just a fun quilt of any kind. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in a week.